Hi everyone, it's Ali, and thanks so much for joining us again for another Lawn Fawn Lovers YouTube collaboration video for April. And this month's theme was interactive cards, so I hope you enjoy this one. I'm going to use the Upon a Star stamp set, and I didn't have any blue or enough for a blue card, so I'm just going to cover my white card base in a blue piece. And I'm going to use this other blue piece of card for my slider element, which is a paper tray ink die. And I'm going to cut that out using my Big Shot. Now I've got my slider element pieces. I'm going to make it look a little bit like a night sky, and I just wanted to do something fairly quick and simple. I'm just joining that piece together of the slider element there and using my bone scorer to score the lines where I'm going to fold that piece. And then I'm just going to join those up with my roller tape. And after I've joined those together, I wanted to make the blue look a bit like a night sky, obviously with stars and a bit of a galaxy sort of look. So I'm just going to get my gesso, just my white acrylic paint, and I've put that on an acrylic block. And then I'm just going to flick that with my paintbrush so that I get a bit of a galaxy looking effect. And some of those splotches were a little bit big, but you'll see later on I go back and fix that up. So if something doesn't turn out quite right, I keep going, and then usually there's a solution that I work out throughout making the card. So now I'm going to do my stamping of the star constellations, I suppose you call them. And I've kept my dies together for this die set, and why I like to do that is so I can do exactly this, which is put my stamps on top of the die, put it in my MISTI upside down, and then lay the stamps on top, pick up the stamps and then remove the die, and then once I've stamped everything I can go through and cut them all out at once. So I'm just using my powder tool there to make sure I don't get the embossing powder sticking to the paper instead of to the ink. And I've just stamped it in Versamark ink, and now I'm going to sprinkle it with silver embossing powder to make the stars. And then I'm just heating that with my heat tool to set it. And then I'm just going to run that through my Big Shot and cut them all out at once. So I like to do that with stamp sets that I think I'm going to stamp out a lot at once. Other times I cut my dies apart if I think that's going to be more useful. So either or. Now I'm going to stamp out the two little bunnies in the set. And again, just going to stamp them out. I'm going to stamp them out in black ink this time, Copic friendly ink. And I'm going in with W7 colour first, that's the darkest colour. Sometimes I colour just by starting with the darkest and then go through to the lightest and so on. Then a W5 I'm using now, and other times I go over with a light and then go with the dark and so on. But it really depends on the size of the image. If it's only a fairly small image, I'll just go in with the dark colour, mid colour and then lightest colour and so on. If it's a larger image, I might give it a coat of the lightest colour first just to saturate the paper a little bit. But it really is personal preference, and in the end I don't know that it makes a huge difference to the look. And then a W1 just to go over again with the lightest colour and blend those other colours back in. And then after I've finished that, I'm just going to do their little noses with a black Copic. And then I'm just going to cut them out, use my Big Shot and the dies. Now I'm going to just go around the edges with my black Copic just so it takes the white edge off. Oh, I actually didn't cut them out with my dies, and that's why I'm doing this, because I cut them out with scissors. I wanted that really close to the edge cut. So I just went round with my black Copic to take away the white edge. Now I'm going to just use or assemble a piece behind that slider element, and I've just stamped that in First Fine Ink and white embossed it, the Make-A-Wish from the set. And so when you pull that slider up, you'll see that little message underneath revealed when you do the slider. So I'm just going to go around the edge of that piece now with my Kokoyu roller glue and then position it so that I can tell if it's level and straight. Like so. Press down, and then I'm just going to cut off the excess with a pair of scissors from the front there. And just trim that bit away that you don't need, that's overhanging. Now I'm going to pop that onto the front of my card. And you can see how it's going to work there. Oh, and I'm going to actually first put my stars on now, and I decided that I wanted them to sort of sit on the front of that sort of piece, the mountain fold, and so that they would stand up when you pulled the slider up. So I'm just going to attach them to some thin strips of acetate. And when I was putting that on, I sort of just used a little bit of roller glue at the bottom and then press them on for each one so they were all in a little tab. And then I decided that I didn't want the acetate showing at the front, so, which I should have done probably previous to this. I'm just going to cut some little slits along the top of that mountain fold so that the pieces of acetate can slide in and be hidden behind. So I decided that I would do that. So I just had to put something behind it while I cut it with my scalpel so that it didn't cut all the way through. I'm just going to cut some little slits along there for the acetate to go through. Then they should just slide in and I can position them how I want. So I just did that with all my stars and poked them through the little slits until they were all in position, like so. And so when it slides up, they all stand up like stars in the sky. So now I'm just going to actually attach that to the front of my card. And press that down so it's nice and firmly adhered. And that's how it's going to look when it's standing up. So I thought I would have a small grassy hill for the two bunnies to sit on. So I've just run that through my Big Shot with a Lawn Fawn grassy hillside die, and I didn't want the slider bit to catch on that grass, so I'm going to just use some 3D foam in the centre of the grass to lift up the centrepiece so it doesn't catch as it's sliding up and down. And then I'm just going to attach the rest of it flat. I didn't want the whole thing lifted up. So it's just lifted it up enough to not catch when it goes up and down. And then just trim off any excess there. Now it's time to attach the bunnies. And I just wanted them off to the side so that I had room for a sentiment. So I'm just going to, there I decided that I wanted a few more stars, and actually some of those white blobs of gesso were a little bit too big and I didn't like them being quite as big as that, so I just sort of covered them over a little bit with a sparkly star that I've cut out of some glitter paper, just to give it a little bit more of a lift on the front of the card. Oh, this is a Heavy Doodle stamp set, Interactively Yours, and it's a really great stamp set. I think Lawn Fawn do have a interactive stamp set, that they've bought out, but I have this one, so I tend to use this one quite a bit, and I've just stamped out the pull here, and then I'm going to punch that out in a star. And then just attach that on the top of the little pull tab for the slider. And now I just wanted to make it a happy birthday card, so I stamped in VersaFine ink and white embossed happy birthday and trimmed that out with my scalpel, and then I'm just going to attach that on to the front of the card. And then I've just got a little bit of white embossing powder that's caught on the paper, so I'm just scratching it away really gently with my scalpel just to remove the little extra flecks. And that's the card. I hope you enjoyed it, and please do follow along with the other blogs and have a look at some of the other cards that the girls have made for this month of April for the interactive cards. They'll be amazing, and it's been such a lot of fun joining in on this YouTube collaboration for Lawn Fawn, and I'm really enjoying using my Lawn Fawn sets and seeing what I can do with them. So thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you again next time.